In a world where love turns to obsession and betrayal lurks behind every smile, Natalie must confront the dark truth about her husband's infidelity and the woman who will stop at nothing to claim him, leading to a deadly showdown that will change their lives forever. The Emerson family lives in a serene neighborhood in Cedar Hills, known for its community feel and picturesque landscapes. Natalie is well known at work and cherished by her friends. She is busy planning a family vacation, hoping it will bring her and Ethan closer, as their marriage has become slightly strained over the years. Natalie's life seems perfect on the surface: successful career, a beautiful home, and a loving family. But something darker is simmering beneath the surface, unseen by everyone around her. Recently, she's noticed that Ethan has become distant, spending more time at work, or perhaps, she fears, with someone else. Natalie begins to feel a growing emotional distance between herself and Ethan. Conversations with Ethan are brief, and she feels his affection slipping away. Although Ethan reassures her, Natalie suspects something is wrong. Melissa, who has recently befriended Natalie through yoga classes, becomes increasingly present in her life. She appears sympathetic to Natalie's concerns about her marriage, always offering an ear. Unknown to Natalie, Melissa is secretly obsessed with Ethan. What started as casual flirtation has grown into a fixation. Melissa believes that she and Ethan are meant to be together, and she subtly encourages Natalie's fears about her marriage, planting doubts and deepening the emotional chasm between Natalie and Ethan. Ethan, though a loving husband, has also been swept into the temptation of Melissa's advances. Their encounters become more frequent, starting innocently but leading to emotionally intimate conversations. Melissa seduces Ethan with her charm and adventurous spirit. Ethan, feeling trapped in the routine of marriage, begins an affair with Melissa, though conflicted by guilt. As the affair progresses, Natalie becomes more suspicious, especially as Ethan's behavior grows more erratic. Late-night work calls, secretive texts, and Melissa's increasing presence in their lives all point to something wrong. Natalie confronts Ethan, but he denies everything, gaslighting her into believing she's being paranoid. Melissa, playing her role as a confidant, manipulates Natalie into doubting herself even more, subtly poisoning her mind. This emotional manipulation sets the stage for betrayal and violence. Melissa becomes more daring in her pursuit of Ethan. She invites him to yoga sessions and private classes where they often find themselves alone. Under the guise of teaching him meditation and relaxation techniques, Melissa slowly entices Ethan into deeper intimacy. Melissa, with her sultry charm and enigmatic personality, plays on Ethan's emotional vulnerability. She knows that Ethan feels trapped in his marriage and uses that to her advantage, often telling him how he deserves to feel alive again. The physical aspect of their affair begins soon after, with stolen moments of passion at her yoga studio or in secluded parts of Cedar Hills. Ethan feels the weight of the affair with Melissa hanging over him like a dark cloud. Every time he returns home to Natalie and their children, guilt gnaws at him. He tries to compensate by being extra attentive to the kids and even suggests spontaneous family outings. However, his heart is conflicted, torn between the thrill and lust of his affair and the love he still feels for his family. At night, Ethan lies awake beside Natalie, remembering the moments he spent with Melissa. He feels a strange mixture of excitement and shame, knowing that what he's doing could destroy everything he's built. Melissa has become like a drug he can't quit, and although he knows the affair must end, he feels powerless to stop it. Natalie, already sensing that something is wrong, begins to notice the subtle changes in Ethan's behavior. His absences grow longer, and she finds excuses for him: late meetings, traffic jams, work deadlines. But deep down, she knows the truth is darker. She catches glimpses of unread text messages on his phone, the occasional lingering scent of perfume that isn't hers, and once, even a charge on his credit card for a hotel she has never been to. Melissa, all the while, continues to manipulate Natalie. She often drops by Natalie's house under the pretense of friendship, discussing yoga, wellness, and offering her support. Melissa even makes subtle, almost teasing remarks about relationships and fidelity, enjoying how close she can get to Ethan's family without Natalie knowing the truth. In her mind, Melissa is waiting for the moment when Ethan will finally leave Natalie. She fantasizes about the life they could have together once the inconvenience of Natalie is gone. The line between love and obsession blurs as Melissa becomes more desperate, and with each passing day, her dangerous fantasy grows more real. Ethan's emotional state begins to unravel. His love for Natalie and his family, combined with his physical attraction and obsession with Melissa, tears him apart. He becomes erratic, more withdrawn at home, and distant from Natalie. His guilt manifests in self-destructive behavior. He drinks more often, stays out late, and begins avoiding conversations with Natalie altogether. Ethan knows that continuing the affair will destroy him, but the allure of Melissa is intoxicating. Every time he tries to pull away, she pulls him back in, igniting their passion in private rendezvous, making him feel alive and free in a way he hasn't felt in years. The emotional distance between Ethan and Natalie becomes impossible to ignore. One night, Natalie decides to confront the issue head-on. After Ethan leaves for one of his late meetings, she decides to go through his phone. What she finds devastates her. Dozens of text messages between Ethan and Melissa, ranging from flirtatious to intimate and explicit. Heartbroken, Natalie struggles with what to do next. Should she confront Ethan? Should she leave? Overwhelmed by the betrayal, Natalie isolates herself, unsure of how to handle the situation. She doesn't tell anyone, not even her closest friends. It feels as though her entire world is collapsing around her, and the person she thought she knew best has become a stranger. Melissa, feeling the pressure of her obsession and the thrill of her affair, begins to grow impatient. She's tired of waiting for Ethan to leave Natalie, and her desire to have him all to herself consumes her thoughts. Melissa starts pushing Ethan to make a decision. She tells him that if he doesn't leave Natalie soon, she will walk away. However, Melissa's reckless behavior becomes increasingly dangerous. She starts showing up at places where Natalie and Ethan are together, acting friendly toward Natalie while secretly taunting Ethan. Melissa's actions begin to spiral out of control as she becomes consumed by her desire to possess Ethan completely. After weeks of keeping the affair to herself, Natalie can no longer bear the emotional weight. One evening, when Ethan comes home, Natalie finally confronts him with the evidence she found. She throws his phone on the table, demanding an explanation. Ethan, caught off guard, tries to deny it at first, but quickly realizes there's no escaping the truth. The argument that follows is explosive. Natalie's pain pours out in waves of anger and betrayal, while Ethan stumbles through apologies and explanations. He tries to rationalize his affair with Melissa, saying it just happened, but Natalie is beyond hurt. Her trust in him is shattered. Ethan begs for forgiveness, but Natalie leaves the house in tears, unable to handle the situation. Melissa, on the other hand, believes that Ethan's fight with Natalie means that they are finally going to be together. She imagines that Ethan will leave his wife and come to her. In her twisted mind, everything is falling into place. However, when Ethan visits Melissa and tells her that he can't continue the affair, that he has to try to save his marriage, something snaps inside Melissa. She can't accept that the man she has obsessed over for months is leaving her. Enraged and heartbroken, Melissa starts plotting a way to remove Natalie from the picture permanently. One stormy night, Melissa puts her plan into action. Fueled by jealousy and her distorted perception of love, she goes to the Emerson home while Ethan is away. She waits until Natalie is alone and then confronts her. What starts as a verbal confrontation quickly escalates into violence. Melissa, overcome by her obsession, attacks Natalie in a fit of rage. The scene is brutal and chaotic. In the heat of the moment, Melissa kills Natalie, leaving her lifeless body in the living room. Panicking, she tries to stage the scene to make it look like a random home invasion gone wrong. Ethan returns home later that night to find the unimaginable: Natalie's body lying on the floor, blood staining the carpet. He's overcome with horror and guilt, knowing that his affair with Melissa indirectly led to this moment. Ethan calls the police and the investigation begins. Detectives quickly arrive on the scene and begin piecing together what happened. At first, they suspect Ethan might be involved, given the strain in his marriage. But as the investigation unfolds, evidence points in a different direction. As the investigation deepens, Melissa becomes the prime suspect. Detectives uncover her obsessive text messages, and her connection to Ethan becomes a major clue. It doesn't take long before they find traces of Melissa's presence at the crime scene. In a dramatic police raid, Melissa is arrested at her yoga studio. She's in shock, having believed that her love for Ethan justified everything she had done. The reality of what she's done finally begins to sink in as the police handcuff her and take her away. Ethan is left to deal with the aftermath of the tragedy. His affair with Melissa, the lies, and the betrayal have all led to the death of his wife. His guilt is unbearable as he faces the reality of his actions. His family is destroyed and his life is in ruins. Though Melissa is imprisoned for Natalie's murder, Ethan must live with the consequences of his choices. He is haunted by Natalie's memory, knowing that his affair set off the chain of events that ended her life. The trial of Melissa Cole becomes the focus of public attention in Cedar Hills. The story of the love triangle, deceit, and murder sends shockwaves through the quiet community. Media outlets and curious onlookers flock to the courtroom, eager to see how the trial unfolds. The prosecution, led by District Attorney Claire Monroe, paints Melissa as a manipulative woman whose dangerous obsession led her to murder. Monroe presents a compelling case, citing Melissa's numerous messages to Ethan Emerson, her growing frustration, and the mounting evidence from the crime scene that connects Melissa to the murder of Natalie Emerson. The prosecution emphasizes how Melissa's desire to have Ethan all to herself blinded her to the moral and legal consequences of her actions. Melissa's defense attorney, Jacob Heller, attempts to shift the narrative, arguing that Melissa was emotionally unstable and in love, claiming that her actions were not premeditated murder, but a crime of passion. He tries to portray Melissa as a vulnerable woman who was led astray by her feelings for Ethan, hoping to garner some sympathy from the jury. He also tries to implicate Ethan more heavily, suggesting that his actions directly contribute to the events that led to Natalie's death. Ethan's testimony is called to the witness stand, and it's a moment filled with emotional tension. As he takes his place, his once confident demeanor is shattered. He has become a broken man, consumed by guilt and regret. Claire Monroe questions him about his affair with Melissa, forcing Ethan to admit the truth about their relationship and how his lies and infidelity spiraled out of control. The courtroom listens in silence as Ethan describes the emotional torment that his affair brought upon his family and how he failed to see the danger that Melissa posed. Jacob Heller, during cross-examination, attempts to cast doubt on Ethan's role, suggesting that he manipulated Melissa and fueled her obsession. Ethan is forced to confront the idea that his own selfish actions led to the destruction of two women's lives, and though he didn't commit the murder, he knows that in some way he's responsible. The weight of this realization crushes him, and his testimony ends with him weeping, unable to bear the enormity of what has happened. Natalie's family, devastated by her tragic death, also takes the stand. Her mother and sister give emotional testimonies, recounting the type of person Natalie was: a loving mother, a devoted wife, and a kind friend. Their grief is palpable, and the courtroom is filled with sorrow as they describe how the loss of Natalie has shattered their lives. Natalie's children, Ava and Liam, are too young to fully understand everything, but their absence speaks volumes. In the closing statements, the prosecution focuses on how Melissa's actions destroyed an innocent family and took away a mother who meant everything to her children. The verdict, after weeks of testimony, the trial comes to a close. The jury is sent to deliberate, and the tension in the courtroom is unbearable. For hours, they debate Melissa's fate, weighing the evidence of her premeditation against the defense's argument of passion and emotional instability. When the jury finally returns, the verdict is announced. Melissa Cole is found guilty of first-degree murder. The courtroom erupts in a mixture of relief and anguish. Melissa, once a confident and charismatic yoga instructor, now stands hollow and defeated, her face pale and emotionless as the weight of her crime settles upon her. She shows little reaction as the verdict is read. But deep inside, she knows her obsession with Ethan has destroyed everything. Sentencing during the sentencing phase, Ethan gives a final, heart-wrenching statement. He speaks about his deep regret and how his choices led to Natalie's death. He doesn't ask for forgiveness because he feels he doesn't deserve it. Instead, he pleads with the court to ensure that Natalie's memory lives on and that Melissa's actions are remembered as a warning of the dangers of obsession and betrayal. The judge sentences Melissa to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It is a somber moment. While justice is served, it doesn't bring back Natalie, nor does it heal the deep emotional wounds left behind. In the months following the trial, Ethan tries to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. He is a single father now, raising Ava and Liam alone. He moves out of Cedar Hills, seeking a fresh start in a quieter town where the past won't haunt him every day. He takes a leave of absence from his job to focus on his children, making their well-being his top priority. Despite his efforts to rebuild, Ethan is haunted by memories of Natalie and the love they once shared. He seeks therapy, hoping to find some semblance of peace. But the guilt lingers like a shadow, always reminding him of the price of his betrayal. Melissa is transferred to a high-security prison, where her once vibrant, free-spirited life is reduced to routine and isolation. In prison, she becomes a shell of her former self, consumed by the knowledge that her obsession destroyed not only Natalie's life, but also her own. She receives few visitors. Dylan, her husband, divorces her after the trial, moving far away to escape the stain of her crime. She spends her days reflecting on the choices that led her to this point, but no amount of introspection can erase the past. Melissa's life behind bars is cold, lonely, and filled with regret. Ava and Liam, though young, are profoundly affected by the loss of their mother. Ethan works hard to create a stable environment for them, but the absence of Natalie is deeply felt. Over time, with the help of family and therapy, the children begin to heal, but they will always carry the scars of their mother's death. Ava, the older of the two, remembers her mother more vividly, and she often asks Ethan about her. Liam, being younger, struggles to understand why his mother is gone. Ethan tries his best to be both father and mother to them, but he knows that there will always be a part of their lives that he can never fill. Ethan's journey toward forgiving himself is long and difficult. He carries the weight of his decisions, knowing that his affair with Melissa set the stage for the tragedy that unfolded. While he receives support from his family and friends, there are many nights when he lies awake, haunted by memories of Natalie and the life they could have had together. Eventually, through therapy and time, Ethan begins to make peace with his past. He starts a foundation in Natalie's name, dedicated to helping families affected by domestic violence and obsessive relationships. It becomes his way of honoring her memory and giving back to those who face similar struggles. Though Natalie is gone, her legacy lives on in the hearts of those who knew her. Her family, friends, and children remember her as a kind, loving, and compassionate woman whose life was cut tragically short. The foundation that Ethan creates helps keep her memory alive, reminding others of the importance of love, loyalty, and the dangers of letting obsession and betrayal take root. The story of Ethan, Natalie, and Melissa is a tragic reminder of how love, when twisted by lies and obsession, can lead to devastation. Ethan will spend the rest of his life trying to atone for the choices he made, but the shadows of his past will always linger. Melissa, locked away, faces a lifetime of isolation, knowing that her desire to possess someone else's love destroyed everything. And Natalie, though gone, remains a symbol of the quiet strength that many people carry, often unnoticed, until it is too late.